C2 Wrestling Podcast. We are back. TNA on the shirt. They win again, as always. There's one person that is not winning. Technically, two, but one for sure is not winning. Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you, we just had about 9 minutes and 20 seconds of fantastic podcasting. Hand up, didn't click record.
You know, it happens. What are you gonna do? That was a pretty great 9 minutes of recording, but TNA didn't win this time. What are you gonna do about it?
We're going to recreate the 9 minutes
yeah,
of beauty because I know everything that we were talking about and the funny
yeah.
moments that we had. And it all started like this little deja vu for Snowden.
Mhm.
We came on, I didn't click record, and I got right into the spiel. I said, C2 Wrestling Podcast is back. We are just over a week away, just under 10 days away from the granddaddy of them all, WrestleMania 41. It is WrestleMania season. We will have big matches such as Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the WWE Championship, such as CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, such as the United States Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the Women's Championship, the Women's World Championship. It will all be big. It will all be trending. Everybody will be talking. But we won't find out any of that until we find out how Snowden is doing today.
Well, you know how I'm doing today. The C2 fans don't quite know yet, so I'll fill them in a little bit. I'm hyped up, man. It's WrestleMania season. As you said, we're a little over a week, just about there. WrestleMania next weekend. This is the greatest weekend of the year every year. WrestleMania, baby. As wrestling fans, we have a YouTube channel dedicated to this. This is what we love. This is what we enjoy. I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely hyped up for both nights. Stand to deliver, SmackDown and Raw, everything included. But most importantly, I'm looking to hang out with the boys. The FAP Reactions reunion, the honorary Oos Alec, and all those who enter the live stream on April 19th and 20th. You got to join in, hang out with the boys, and have some fun. It is going to be an absolute blast. We've done this plenty of times in the past, and it's been nothing but fun. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, I was on the phone yesterday with the honorary Oos for about an hour. I'm sure you didn't know that already.
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, and we were really harping on one thing for WrestleMania weekend. Like, I am excited for WrestleMania. I am excited for Cena Cody. I'm excited for the triple threat. I'm excited for pretty much the entire card. There's some things I may not care about as much, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
excited. But it's the weekend, man. It's ooh, I'm blinded by the light. It's the weekend, man. That's the good stuff. Like WrestleMania, NXT, SmackDown, Raw. That's bonus. That's bonus.
Mm-hmm.
The good stuff is being with the boys, the memories, the funny moments. Like
Yeah.
I know before even getting there, it makes me laugh thinking about how much I'm going to laugh at how much shit that's going to happen. It literally makes me laugh.
Yeah, I can guarantee it. Lock it in. We're going to be crying from laughing. It happens every time we're together as a group. Like, we bust out into tears from just laughing at who knows what. There's always something to come up. But when you put the boys together in the room and WrestleMania is on, there's food around, we're having fun, it's going to go down. It's going to be an absolutely great time. It's here, man. It's WrestleMania. Crazy that it's been a year since last year's WrestleMania. Am I more excited than last year? Getting all together is big, man. You know, it's been a while since we've all gotten together like this. So I am pretty damn excited. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was excited obviously for WrestleMania 40 and it
Mm-hmm.
delivered. It was an awesome show. It was an awesome time. It's just a different type of excitement for this because that I was just more so excited for the show itself.
Yeah.
Like, sitting in the seats, it being kind of cold, you can't be as excited for that. For us all together, the five of us bullshitting, cracking each other up, watching the shows, like even before the actual PLE starts, watching other random wrestling matches and stuff. Like that's the excitement too. Like it's just
Mhm.
the entire weekend. You wake up and it's like, all right, like I'm with the boys. Like I can
Yeah.
just, we're already hanging. Mania weekend, yeah, it's fun, but you wake up Saturday night or you wake up Sunday morning after Saturday night and it's like, all right, that was fun. All right, everyone, go take your showers, go get dressed. We'll go to Wawa. Let's start driving back there. Like it's not, it's, so formulaic that I'm not saying it's not fun because it was a great time. We're all chilling. All the boys are together. We're cracking each other up.
Yeah.
We're having so much fun. Like that's the true excitement of this entire weekend that we are so close to.
So close to, and you did back to Mania 40. Feels like we did, but we didn't have this channel. We didn't have C2 Wrestling at the time. So there's a little bit more something for us to do this weekend, and that is record, post videos, hang out with the people online as well. I'm looking forward to the grub. I'm looking forward to eating all weekend. Mania weekend's a big food weekend for all of us. It is our Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is football's WrestleMania, however you want to put it. It does lead me to ask you a question for the first time ever. How much pizza are you going to eat over this weekend?
4 slices.
Over the entire weekend?
Oh, I thought you just said during the one day. I think I'm going to crush a pie. And
Yeah, easy.
I think, especially if it's more so cheese slices, I'm going to do some damage. Now, a bit of information that I've never said before in my entire life. We are going to order from a pizza spot that we've never tried. So I gotta wait till I get my hands on it to know because you can see pictures, you can see videos, you can see one bite reviews. It's not until you're actually eating it when you can tell how heavy or light a
Yep.
slice is. Like I kind of like this is a crazy comparison. I'm not comparing the pizza that we're going to get to this, but remember in high school or middle school and high school, what was it? Big Daddy's? Was that the pizza?
Yeah, yeah. Big Daddies. Yep. Big
Those
Daddy
were
V's.
heavy slices.
Yeah.
Like those slices,
Yeah, they were.
they
Yeah.
were thick boys.
Yeah, they were.
I could not take down an entire pie of that anymore. In my heyday, maybe. Anymore, no, I'm not that big of a guy. But I am very active. I do run a lot. I've never mentioned that before.
Never.
And I burn a shit ton of calories doing that. So it makes me usually be a pretty hungry person. Game plan Saturday, all reliable Wawa for NXT, and then get that pizza place before we go live for Mania Night 1. I think depending on the weight, depending on the sides, the entire weekend I'll finish a full pie myself.
Yeah, I'm finishing an entire pie throughout the weekend. No problem. There's going to be chicken wings on the side, maybe some mozzarella sticks, some drink. Who knows? It's going to be a lot of food. Dangerous, though. First time I've ever said this, but when you put us five, us six in a room, five guys eating, wrestling's on, might sound like RVD's theme in the background there. Might get a little risky with what we're putting down, but that's the boys hanging out. It's all about the fun. It's going to be a blast.
A quick story that I've definitely never mentioned to you before and you didn't live through. We've had about 10 people appear on FAP Reactions and C2 Wrestling. I'm not going to out anybody,
Yep.
but there was one year we had a very big get together for WrestleMania. And there was one person, it was actually this exact moment that I realized I wasn't recording. There was one person that stunk up the place so ungodly bad that I don't think I've ever, like, it was an incomparable smell. And it was just in the living room for hours. And it really didn't dawn on us until someone had come over after the show,
Mhm.
opened the door, and was like, "Oh my
Oh,
God, it stinks in here." I won't reveal who, but that stench,
yeah.
my nostrils would not be able to handle that stench again.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're wrestling fans, so maybe it's a little hypocritical to say, but I walk into those venues holding my nose a little bit, So, I feel like wrestling fans and stench kind of go hand in hand together a little bit. But it's the boys. We're going to deal with it. It's going to be a hell of a weekend. A lot of food, a lot of wrestling, a lot of reacting, a lot to get to. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be an absolute blast.
Yeah, I did mention before we recorded and we did 9 minutes of great podcasting that will never see the light of day, that I had a question for you that I never got to.
Yes. Yeah.
And now I will get to it now that I know for sure that we're recording and we've essentially touched on the topics that we talked about before. WrestleMania
Mm-hmm.
weekend, probably, I don't know, we'll say 2, 3 weeks before Ryan brought this up. It's prime WrestleMania rewatch season.
Yes.
Like
Yes. Of
right
course.
now, we're what? This drops Thursday. We're recording Wednesday, it drops Thursday. So we're 9 to 10
Mm-hmm.
days away from Mania. This is like the I'm doing work. I got a Mania playing in the background.
100%.
I I was taking a quick flight from New York back home. I threw on the ending to WrestleMania 40. I'm like, all right, I got an hour and 20 left of this flight. Roman, Cody, all of that, everything. It's like
Relive
40 something,
history.
yeah, 40 something minutes. Let me rewatch that. It's been a while since I've rewatched that. Right now, we'll say you haven't watched a single ounce of Mania prep.
Okay.
You're sitting down, you're like, all right, it's Mania season. I got to throw something on.
Mm-hmm.
What are you throwing on first?
Right now, maybe this is like a cliche answer, but I gotta get that Mania 40 rewatching. The full thing. I'm talking night one, night two, top to bottom. I want a full Mania 40 rewatch. We were there. We lived it. That's a special one to go back and rewatch. I tend to go back and check out 33 a bunch as well because we were also there. 33 to 40. There's a couple of not so great ones in between. But I've said this before, that 38, 39, 40 run is a special run. I want to kind of rewatch the trilogy, but I always love going back and watching those old ones, man. 18, 19, 20, and so on. WrestleMania from top to bottom. There's so many rewatchable papers, even the not great ones. There's something in there rewatchable that is fun to relive and go back. It's crazy, man, that there's 40 of these events to go watch now. It's nuts, especially now that they're breaking up into two nights. It's 40 events. There's really 44 Manias to go watch if you want to look at it that way. Mania 40 holds a special place. That definitely gets a full blown rewatch before Mania 41.
So I've rewatched Mania 40. It's been a bit since I rewatched it front to end. I'll probably get a Mania 40 rewatch in. 20 is a go-to for me.
20's a go to. Yep.
Just because I've mentioned this before, like that's kind of where a lot of my wrestling memories, like I have like patchy wrestling memories before 20 that
Yeah.
like, I was watching, I've never not watched wrestling in my entire life. But for when it all kind of like I can remember from this point on, like it is, I remember this, I remember this, I remember where I was for this. It really starts for me at Mania 20. So that's like the default go-to for me. I got to get a
Yeah.
Mania 20 watching
And I
in.
mean, 21 years ago, Mania 20, we were six. So everything prior to that is obviously going to be a little bit muddy in comparison. But 20 holds a special place. That's a great one. I go back, I check out 25 all the time. There's some classics in there. Again, even if it's not the full show, there's some hit matches and a couple of these PLEs that are all rewatchable. I mean, up until, what is it, 36, there's at least a rewatchable Taker match on every
Yeah.
PLE. So
Yeah.
there's something to look back at. But Mania 41, I think, is going to be special as well. I think it's hard to live up to Mania 40. Now, don't get me wrong. That's like the end all be all of wrestling. Wrestling could have ended after Mania 40. It's hard to top that. But I think we are continuing that streak of 38, 39, 40 into 41. Four in a row, banger WrestleManias. I really think we're on that path.
Absolutely. And we went, as we've mentioned, we went to Mania 40. We did, I'm glad we were on the same page with this. And Honorary Oos Alec was also very on the same page with this. I like going, I go to as many events as I can for wrestling and or
Sports.
football, baseball, you name it, any
Yep.
sport. Unless it's like, I don't know. There's some moments where you're like, I just want to live in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't even want to record this from my point of view. And like the ones that I have, I don't want to like undersell as if they weren't fun. Like when I went to see Manchester United play and they got a penalty to win the game, I recorded the penalty and the crowd reaction. Awesome. The two Super Bowls that I went to, I really didn't record much. Like a couple clips from the halftime show. Like I want to live in the moment.
Yep.
I want my memories to be it. And then when I rewatch it, I'm not rewatching through how I was recording. I'm rewatching through what I was looking at, what I was experiencing. Mania 33, because we were doing FAP reactions, I was recording us, but a lot of my memories are like towards us, not towards the show,
Yeah.
if you get what I'm saying. And
Yep.
SummerSlam, it may also do that as well when we go, because we're gonna try to do something similar. Mania 40, we all were in agreement. Like, I'm
Mm.
living in the moment for
Yeah.
this.
100%.
Like this
It's on
is
Peacock. I'll just go watch it.
exactly. I'll rewatch it. I'll get any chance. And I have to mention, I am so glad I did because that gong hit. I'm not saying like it wouldn't have been good, but just the enjoyment and like personal experience I
Uh-huh.
had from the gong hit, you and I being together in that like out of body experience
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
it just wouldn't have hit the same.
No, I would not have hit the same. Don't get me wrong. Do I have a photo or two? Sure. I'm positive I do. But we really were not on the phones. We were living in the moment, watching wrestling. And there's a lot of people in those crowds. You can see it where they're just sitting on the phone recording. It's the same with concerts and sports, everything. That's just the day and age we live in. But I wanted to be able to think back to those moments through my own eyes and not through the phone. And I'm so happy we did that. It might be different going to the SummerSlam because we have this YouTube channel, so we got to kind of have the phones out a little bit. But WrestleMania 40, man, we've said this. It's the greatest weekend of my life. It's the
Yeah.
greatest weekend of my life. We had an absolute blast, top to bottom. All 5 shows we went to were incredibly fun, living in the moment. It's truly like my most fond memories are that weekend, WrestleMania 40 weekend as a whole, WWE World, everything, an absolute blast.
Yeah. And I mentioned in last podcast that it was a year ago. This is the actual year ago to date. I was thinking of Mania 39 that was to the date a
Yeah.
year ago. Mania 40, year ago to the date. So now I'm getting all the snap memories, all the picture memories and stuff like that. Honorary Oos Alec actually sent me, he
Yeah,
had
it's on a
taken
couple on Snap. Yep.
a Snapchat of us when we were our first ever
Unwrapping
replica
the
titles.
belts.
Or my second ever technically, but we're unwrapping them, we're putting them around our shoulder for the first time. It's like I just remember that feeling. That entire
Yeah.
weekend, just like everything was just so fun, so memorable that it being a year ago, like yeah, it feels like it was a year ago. Like it feels like so much has happened between now and then. But it also feels like we've been doing this channel for so long that I'm like, man, we weren't a channel then, and now
Yeah.
we are. And now this is something that I love to do. This is like my escape from the real world. So it's like this is the enjoyment I have of it. So this year's Mania is going to be fun. You and I talk, I'm like, man, I start thinking about what we can do for SummerSlam since we'll be there in person. Man, next year's Mania isn't far away. I wouldn't be opposed to going to next year's Mania. Oh, next year's Rumble, maybe we could do this, even though it's in Saudi. Maybe we could do this. Maybe we could do that. Like, I just start thinking about all this stuff because doing this creates all of the memories where it's like I clear the schedule for wrestling to begin with, but for the channel where we get to talk about it, live react, whatever, this is the weekend you look forward to. This is the one you look forward to.
This is absolutely the one you look forward to. Man, again, we, like many of us, if you found yourself to the C2 Wrestling YouTube page, you're probably a big wrestling fan. I imagine you're pretty in tune with wrestling and you're not maybe some casual that watches here or there. You're in tune enough to be digging through YouTube to find reviews, reactions, podcasts, and whatnot. We're wrestling fans ever since I can remember. Truly, my oldest memory, I believe, is professional wrestling related. Always have been, always will be a wrestling fan. This is what we live for, honestly. Like, this is what we live for. And we had a YouTube channel. We stopped the YouTube channel. We decided to come back with this with C2 Wrestling. It's been an absolute blast. Time has flown. You know, we started this in the summer and it's already WrestleMania. We're not even out a year, but we're about to go into really the biggest time of the year. It's been fun. It's been nothing but fun. I'm looking forward to what's to come out of it. I just can't fucking wait to be sitting there watching wrestling with the boys, man, eating some pizza, eating some wings, talking, farting, whatever we're doing as boys. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I was telling you before we thought we were recording, before we started the podcast the first time, I was telling you about the stuff I'm getting together for Mania weekend. You know, this thing that I bought so we can podcast together, so we can, do some pods, record some pods, record videos, do all different stuff since we'll be together the entire weekend. I'm going through all this stuff. Oh my God, like it gets me so giddy. Like I'm excited for it. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. Just love talking wrestling, love watching wrestling. Like this is it. This is all we've really ever cared about. So these types of weekends, these are the ones where you really get to enjoy. And it's like creating this content, you know, whether it's 5 people or 5,000 people that view it, we do the same thing no matter what. And it is so much fun because this is what we love to do. This is what we love to, this is our passion. And we're going to continue to do stuff. We're going to continue to grow. We got all these ideas of other things that we can do, other things at shows that we can do as well that I think a lot of people are going to like, but I think we are going to enjoy doing it. And that's my biggest thing with YouTube channels, more of a broader topic. I've seen so many people mention this who do YouTube channels or, have YouTube channels or create content or whatever. Like, you got to like what you do because if you don't like it, like it is very clear that you're inauthentic or like you're just doing something out of more like you have to, not because you want to. Like, this is what we've always done. This is what we've always liked.
Yeah.
So Mania weekend, man, I'm just like, I said it when we were recording before, like I'm laughing thinking about how much I'm going to be laughing. It's going to be a hilarious weekend. And what's a little frustrating about it is we're going to record so much. We're going to be live for both manias. There's going to be a camera rolling so much. But the funniest moment is going to happen when we're not recording and we're
Yeah.
going to be like, man, I wish we had that on
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah. The funniest moment is going to be driving to Wawa that morning to go get some breakfast sandwiches or
Yep.
something. You know, like the funniest moment always happens off camera. We're going to have a camera recording more often than not, honestly, because it's really just wrestling all weekend. But it's going to be a hell of a time, man. You know, we really do live for this. This is going to be a reunion. You know, this is a long time coming. It has been a while since us and the boys have all together in the same room been watching wrestling. And we did travel with the honorary Us Alec and went to WrestleMania together last year. We unfortunately weren't able to get tickets together, you know, so it's great that we're all going to be together watching the show, hanging out. It is just what I live for. It's what we live for, man. You know, growing up as a kid, I wasn't missing wrestling. I wasn't missing WrestleMania. You know, but as a kid, we all had some friends that you watch here and there with. You know, don't get me wrong, talk about. But when you grow into adulthood and you can do it on your own accord, go out with the boys, get a place, watch some wrestling, order some food. Come on, it's gonna be the greatest weekend ever. Part two.
Can't wait. I'm excited for SummerSlam as well. Like
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get some news today too, maybe on tickets, Raw and SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
Because Gunther is appearing on the Ariel Helwani show. I think he'll give some more insight. He
Yeah.
teased it in the Devils game last night. But that's the summer. Like that can wait. My sole focus is WrestleMania. Next week's podcast will be the WrestleMania predictions, which we'll be recording beforehand. It will also go up on FAP Reactions YouTube channel, so it'll be up on both, so both sides can see it. We got to talk Mania because it's Mania stretch season. We're going to give predictions then we're not going to predict matches that haven't been announced yet.
Mhm.
And we're going to record that before SmackDown this Friday. So odds are one of the bigger potential matches may not be known until SmackDown, maybe Raw, maybe the SmackDown right before WrestleMania. It's Randy Orton's new partner. Randy Orton, as we know, was scheduled to face Kevin Owens. Owens is out for who knows how long. Wish him absolutely nothing but the best and a speedy recovery. Absolutely sucks. Like, just, I don't want to say like this is the negatives of a long term story telling, but like this is what can happen in wrestling. You're telling this great story for an extended period of time, and something unfortunate happens, and you don't get the payoff. And hopefully one day we get that payoff. But it's now brought in that new question. Who does Randy Orton face at WrestleMania? Now, there's plenty of names I think we can touch on. There's been some names that people have said where I'm like, I mean, sure, they could do that. It would make zero sense.
Yeah.
But as we know, you know, not to talk about Vince McMahon here, but a lot of times when you get a situation like this, you'd get something crazy, wacky that takes place because you want to make it up to people, like Kurt Angle being in the Shield for one night. Like I'm not expecting
Crazy.
something as wacky as that, but who do you think Orton faces? Is it going to be Aldis? Is it as cut and dry as that?
I think there's definitely a few names. There's maybe three names that are most prominent that if you've been watching C2 Wrestling, we've discussed a little bit over the reviews and whatnot. Aldis is one of those names, based on the RKO. His RKO would have in the past as well. That would be maybe the most surprising opponent too. That would be the most Kurt Angle's in the Shield for a night type opponent would be Nick Aldis because he hasn't quite wrestled yet in WWE. And when he first came into that GM role, that was the question: is he going to wrestle? Eventually, you imagine because he is a wrestler, but you never know. Maybe he likes the role he's in. Maybe he doesn't want to wrestle. We don't know all these things. Given the opportunity, though, hey Nick Aldis, you want to wrestle Randy Orton at WrestleMania? I'm sure he's going to say, yeah, I do. So that's possible. Is there a little bit of a story there? Yeah, sure. Orton RKO'd him. Oh, well, my match is gone. I want a match, so give me a match. Okay, I'll give you a match versus me. Maybe it's as simple as that. Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton. I mean, TNA wins again, baby. Sign me the fuck up. I'm mad at that at all. That's fantastic if you ask me. There's some alternative opponents that maybe make a little bit more sense if we're trying to make sense out of the story. But this is not necessarily a story in which I need it to make sense now because of Kevin Owens' injury, which also Kevin Owens, I believe, stated it kind of aggravated during a regular match in January. It wasn't off the Alabama slam through the ladder or all this crazy stuff going on. These things happen. It's very unfortunate. We hope for the best for Kevin Owens, but because of that, it doesn't need to make a lot of sense. We got not even 2 weeks till WrestleMania. There's not much build they can really do. It can be as simple as I'm going to hand choose an opponent for you. You'll find out at WrestleMania. I think that's the route they should go. Is it's a surprise opponent. If they go that route, though, is Sami Zayn the surprise? Is that as much of a surprise as Nick Aldis would be? It makes more sense, maybe, but it's not as big of a moment per se.
For sure. And I think this is the rare situation where you kind of have you can't be too harsh on them unless they go something like that just makes zero sense, is so out of left field that it's bad. If you get what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
like it,
Yeah.
they could do something that is just downright bad. That is very possible. They kind of have the pass though, because this isn't a situation where they were 2 weeks before WrestleMania and they went, "Oh shit, we didn't give Randy Orton an opponent, and we need Randy Orton on the card. What do we do here?" Like it wasn't that at all. They had been building this story for months. And as I mentioned, it is hilarious that both of us are now going to be wrong on what the WrestleMania match is going to be because it was just destined for neither of us to be
No,
right.
I've been saying Nick Aldis is going to face
Yeah,
Randy
yeah,
Orton. Come
exactly. I've
on.
been
Yeah.
saying that was going to happen. So this kind of is like your get out of jail free card situation where you can get a little funky, you can get a little Terry funky, get a little weird and do whatever you want. I'm just going to mention some names that I've seen. I'm not predicting any of these names. This is strictly I scroll the timeline and I have seen someone say, "Hey, Randy Orton should face this person." I have seen Sami Zayn. I have seen Nick Aldis.
Makes sense.
I have seen Aleister Black.
Makes sense. That would be the third name I would
Yeah.
say out of those three.
I have seen now this heads to the areas of I don't think any of these are happening.
Uh,
I have seen Miro Rusev. Not impossible, but I think he is more likely to one go to Raw, two
Post
probably do a
Mania.
Raw after Mania
Yeah.
return. I have seen Karrion Cross, which I just don't think is happening.
It's on a different
And
brand,
yeah, and there's someone
doing other
else that I
things.
saw, and now I can't think of it. I mean, to be fair, isn't Sammy technically on Raw? Like,
Yeah,
is
true.
the brands? I think you'll kind of throw it out of the window for this. I'm
Yeah.
not more so stuck on what brand they're on. I think they're still going to try to make sense here. Like if they do Orton versus Aldis, as wacky as that sounds, it still makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it's still he has put his hands on him before. He put his hands on him again. He's been a headache to Aldis before. Him and Owens, their story and the headache that that's caused. Like it still could make sense to where, all right, this is an acceptable match story wise. We understand you're kind of put in a corner here, but you just gotta, roll with the punches. And also, Orton's probably going to win at this year's Mania.
Yeah, Orton probably wins, especially considering what's going on now. I can't imagine they come up with an opponent within a week and a half of Mania and decide to give them the win over Randy Orton. So odds are Orton beats whoever he beats. Alistair is an interesting choice. I do actually think that is a great idea for them to do Nick Aldis, hand picking an opponent, and maybe it's Alistair Black. You would want him to win in theory, which that could be a big surprise. Maybe you do have the returning Alistair Black gets a crazy win over the Viper at WrestleMania, and that really establishes Alistair as somebody again. Or you have him debut, put on a showing, he loses to Randy Orton, loses no credibility because he just had a WrestleMania match against Randy Orton. That's a great match to kind of put under your belt of accomplishments. Sami Zayn, there's a little bit of a story tie-in with Kevin Owens, despite them feuding, I'll never not care for Kevin Owens, this, that. Nick Aldis, again, has been RKO'd a few times. Those three make the most sense. I have seen even people pitch Ray Phoenix, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, but it's thrown together. It's not necessary, especially with Phoenix being known. He's definitely a known competitor, but still he's 2 weeks in WWE at this point. I don't know if that makes nearly as much sense as the other three. There's nobody else, really.
The
There's nobody
other
else.
the other name that I said, I thought there was someone else. I have seen some people say just have him run it back with Carmelo. Um, I get it. I understand the frustration, but again, that's like something where they're going to complain either way. Like
Yeah.
if it happens, they're going to complain, "Oh, you just threw Carmelo in there to lose." If it doesn't happen, they're going to complain that Carmelo, or if it happens, they're going to complain it didn't have the proper build and Carmelo should
Oh
have had a better
man,
match
like
to begin with.
you give this to Carmelo, why wasn't it Andrade? Like
Yeah,
there's always going to be something. Yeah.
exactly. So I feel if there were odds, Aldis is probably the favorite, right? Like, I mean,
Man.
I wouldn't, if there were odds, I'm looking at a sports book, I wouldn't expect anyone to have a minus.
Yeah. Those are all
Everyone's
plus odds.
plus money. I
Yeah.
would assume Aldis probably like, say like plus 140,
See, I think I'd put Sammy at like plus 130 then. I do.
Really? I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think,
Sammy's less likely than Aldis.
man, I don't know. Because I think all this, although he's been RKO'd, I think it is a little bit wishful thinking. And they very well go that route. Again, it's the Kurt Angle in the Shield surprise thing. Like it does make sense. But they had him RKO all this however long ago, and that didn't lead to anything. Maybe there wasn't some scenario where it made sense to lead to anything. But He is the GM. He hasn't been in the ring yet. They haven't even really talked about his in-ring career. So it does line up for him to, well, you want a match, Orton? I got a guy. I'm going to give you a guy. And it is Alistair or even Rusev, a returnee at that point. Sami Zayn, I think, would more so face Orton in the sense of like he shows up before WrestleMania, not really like a hand-picked opponent by all this, but it can go any of these ways.
I did see another name. Now that we're talking, I'm like visualizing the tweets that I've
Yeah,
seen. I saw someone else say, "Give Solo the match." I saw that and I was like, I'm not saying I would hate that by any means,
yeah,
but isn't it hilarious? Didn't you all just hate Solo 2 weeks
yeah.
ago?
It
Like,
is.
isn't it hilarious? Like, you all were sick of him, and now I see some people like give Solo the match. He's been on, he's been consistent, he deserves a Mania match. I'm like, weren't you guys just shitting on this guy a fucking month ago?
I've said this before. I don't know if I'm a record saying this on C2, but the hypocrisy in wrestling fans is so funny at times. It really is. Would I hate Solo versus Orton? No. Solo is one of those guys that deserves a match on WrestleMania, but not against Randy Orton. It's not the time for that. It doesn't really fit the bill as much as Sammy, Alistair, all this. It doesn't really do anything for the crowd there that it could if it was Sammy, Aldis, Alistair, any of these other names. Solo, I don't think has a match, but I think he's going to be involved. I am not 100% sold that Fatu wins the U.S. title. Do we see Solo try to help him like he helps Roman, but accidentally screws Fatu? Does something happen there and Solo is still involved? Not everybody needs a match to be involved at WrestleMania, and I think that's kind of the Solo route. Orton, he's on the card. He's having a match. It's not booked, but you might as well throw it on the 11 matches or whatever, kind of Orton versus Vacant, because he's going to have a match. You can't not have Orton at WrestleMania. I'm at the point where I want them to go the mystery opponent route, even if it is all this. Even if all this comes out and says, you know what, Orton, you want a match? I'll get an opponent for you. You'll find out at WrestleMania, and maybe we get that music hitting of Brutus Magnus, or we get Alistair coming out of the coffin. One of the above is going to happen. I can't wait to see the route they go. It has added, and I wanted Owens versus Orton. That was one of the matches I was anticipating most, but this has added another level of excitement to this card, to this match.
I think that if they don't give us his opponent this Friday or even next Friday, and they are saying it's going to be a mystery opponent or it's something that happens during the show, a situation where Orton's at Mania and he's pissed that he doesn't have an opponent, along those lines, whatever. If you play it that way, it's got to be something crazy, which would be really just one of the three, Alistair, Rusev, or Aldis. Like a Zayn moment, that'd be cool. I don't think that's crazy enough
Yeah,
where it's
to be
like
a
you,
mystery opponent.
yeah, where you
Yeah.
wouldn't just announce it beforehand. It could be the day before WrestleMania where Aldis says, "You want an opponent? I found one," and Zayn comes out. Like that's something where it is very possible, but if you're gonna have it mystery style, it's got to be nuts.
Yeah, back to your odds reference, if it's going to be a mystery opponent, when they announce mystery opponent, Sami Zayn goes down in those odds, but then
For sure.
Magnus and Alistair both go, maybe minus 100, maybe they're both a bit more likely to be placed in that match. I'm hoping that's the route they go is mystery opponent.
Yeah, and it just adds to the Mania weekend of like, oh my God, who is Orton's
Yeah.
mystery opponent? Who's he gonna
Yeah.
face? I can't really think of there's no other like free agent that it could be or
No,
anyone that's
I like
unless
I
I mean, look, like this is insane talking, and I don't think
yeah.
they're gonna do this. But I mean, you got like the TNA partnership too. Like
So
it
I
could
was
be
just gonna
someone.
say, this is unlikely. I think Sammy, Aldis, Alistair, all those Carmelo's even more likely than it being, say, an NXT guy or a TNA guy. But holy shit, that moment if Joe Hendry's music were to hit, come on, that's a fucking moment right there.
You're not
Unlikely,
lying.
unlikely, but holy shit, that would be a hell of a moment. honestly, I think I'm kind of talking myself into it. Making Joe Hendry, I don't know. I
I
kind of talk myself into it, you
yeah,
know?
dude, I'm working myself into a shoot here, dude.
I got them goosebumps,
Yeah,
baby.
dude.
Come on.
I mean, it's like Mania weekend. It similar to the Rumble. You can do something like that and not have that worry of like, oh, they're gonna know who he is or something like that. Like
I don't even know who the fuck he is.
of
Yeah, yeah,
course, that's fucking of course.
yeah.
If they did that, man, like that to me would fall under, even though he is the champion of TNA. He can lose. Who cares? You lost to fucking Randy Orton. Like
Yeah,
if anybody complained
yeah,
about that, it'd hit the fucking high road. You would
yeah.
have the first ever TNA champion appearing at fucking WrestleMania in a
WrestleMania
match, like
against Randy Orton.
against Randy Orton. And like the craziest part about it is like, look, I don't expect this to happen by any means. We're just
No,
spitballing, bullshitting.
yeah.
It's not far fetched.
There is really a route where Nick Aldis, I have some connections. I was in TNA. TNA wins again, baby. I mean, it's not impossible. I honestly, Joe Hendry has better odds than maybe some guys that are currently signed to
Yeah,
be this mystery
yeah.
opponent. Like
Honestly,
it's
call me crazy. Joe Hendry may have better odds than fucking Karrion Cross.
he probably does have better odds than Karrion Cross. Honestly, the only people that might have better odds might be Alistair, Sammy, Nick Aldis. Yeah, those really might be the only three names leading the pack. Joe Hendry answering that open challenge, let's call it mystery opponent, handpicked, whatever it is. That's a fucking moment, man. And the stadium's going to be packed. People already know who he is. Even if you don't, he was at the fucking Royal Rumble. He's already been in
Yeah,
WWE. Like, you know who he is. That would be an incredible moment. Oh man, I really think we're working ourselves into a shoot here. I
of
think we're
course.
working
Yeah,
ourselves
yeah,
into
yeah.
a shoot
Yeah,
here. Yeah,
I don't expect this to happen at all. If
at
anything,
all, at
I
all. Yeah,
expect Friday on SmackDown, Nick Aldis to just be like, I'll face you. It's like,
yeah,
all right,
yeah, or
well,
something. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Sami Zayn, come out now.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
like they're gonna.
exactly. So
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be cookie cutter in comparison to what we want. But man, that would be a fucking moment. That would be a moment.
so NXT was last night, and
Uh-huh.
we will be doing reactions to NXT, some big moments. It's kind of funny that, one big NXT debut that would have been rumored for Stand and Deliver would have been Ricky Saints, but he's obviously already there. Another fun show last night. Our boys from Swipe Right absolutely crushed it, and they absolutely should be signed to NXT as
Great
soon as
showing.
possible. I want to talk about the main event, though.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the triple threat for the
Mhm.
championship, but also this story that we've touched on. Man, they just do nothing for me.
Yeah. So Dark State, not clicking. I do got to mention, being that we're on the topic of NXT now, very quickly, little off topic from Dark State. I fucking love Booker T. Go Booker T.
Oh,
Anyways, fuck.
yeah.
Yeah, fucking love Booker T.
Change our
Anyways,
name to C5.
C5, C5. Booker T, the GOAT. Dark State, not the GOATs. The stable is not quite clicking for me. I'm not saying the talent in there isn't good. I liked Dion Lennox before Dark State. I think Saquon Sugars has a little bit of promise to him. A couple of these guys do, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's maybe the storyline they're being involved in. Like, I love, love, love the triple threat of Oba, Trick, and Javon Evans. I think that's fantastic. Those are three of the best guys going, and they're still up and comers. I mean, if it wasn't for Gunther, this is arguably an Oba Femi Stan account. That guy is incredible. Javon Evans is like 13 years old. He's got another 40 years ahead of him. Like these guys are going to be around for a long time. It also put it to rest all these claims of certain types of talent not getting showcased. There's a triple threat between three African American wrestlers, and it's going to be one of the best matches over the entire weekend. We date ourselves back to 40 last year. Stand and Deliver put on some of the best actual wrestling across the entire weekend, and I think we're going to get more of that as long as Dark State is not involved. I don't need it. I just don't need
So
it.
yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring up with them. Like they're this big part of the show, but it's like I don't even know if they're gonna have a match. Maybe they face the family. I know the show ended with the family calling him out for the parking lot, but it's like it doesn't really feel like you're facing then at Stand and Deliver. It feels like you're kind of wrapping it up beforehand. But I would assume that's probably their Stand and Deliver match. But even then, like, sure.
Yeah, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. Something about the group, it's too Shield-esque, too Retribution-esque. And I think the four guys that they've selected for the group, not that they don't click, but they really feel just randomly thrown together. I don't know. Something about it doesn't feel like these guys are a group. There's been all these rumors. Is so and so leading the group? Is so and so leading the group? I personally have always hated the idea of Trick Williams being the leader. I don't need anybody to be the leader of this new faction. It could be Dion Lennox. That's fine. It doesn't need to have some overarching mega leader. They had their match last night versus the three guys, Oba, Trick, and Javon. They hit their finish. That power bomb off the top was kind of butchered. I'm not crazy about it. It's very Shield-esque again. I don't know, man. I just don't have much else to say other than it's not really clicking right now. It's something about that faction is not doing it for me. I also think we're in the majority on that. I don't know how long this faction really lasts in NXT. I can see a world where they get another 6 months, but towards the end of that 6 months, maybe they start realizing that the faction ain't like quite clicking, and they start breaking these guys up a little bit.
You know, maybe this is just my opinion. I think they're probably one of the biggest issues with them is they almost immediately were in the world title feud,
Yeah,
like involved in the world title story. Now they're not going for the title. They're just going after the guys who,
yeah,
just just because they want to, I guess they feel
yes,
organized.
yeah,
Like I don't get like to me, it feels like all right, your faction should be trying to take the title because you want to take
yeah.
from people from NXT because you feel like you guys never got your chance or something like
They should
that.
be jumping for Axiom every night.
Yeah, exactly. Jumping all the champions to try to get all the titles, jump Ricky Saints, jump Fraxium, jump Obafemi. Like that to me feels more logical. Them only just kind of doing what they want. Like I know there's the Shield comparisons. I don't want to hear it. I know there's the Retribution comparisons. It is almost similar to Retribution in the fact of like they're just causing chaos to cause chaos. And like I'm not clicking with like the purpose of all of this. That if their goal wasn't the championship, then they probably should have just been building up to be factoring into the heavyweight title, you know,
Yeah,
situation instead of them just already instantly being involved in it. It's just not there and you can't abort it anytime soon because you're still in the early stages of it. And I'm gonna keep watching. I'm not gonna not watch. But to me, it's the same thing we said about with AEW and the Death Riders. Like we were watching it, it's like I don't think this is ever gonna click with me, and it hasn't there. I don't think this is ever gonna click with me.
yeah. I don't think this is ever going to click with me either. I don't know if there's anything they could do with that group at this point. And maybe it's early in this group's history for me to say that, but I don't know if there's anything they can do with that group to really make me care. It seems like they're setting it up for Dark State to somehow be involved in that triple threat at Stand and Deliver. And are they going to help somebody win? Maybe. I think the biggest swerve to it all, and I don't want this again, I don't want anybody to be the faction leader, but I think the biggest swerve to it all would be if it was Javon. That would be probably the biggest curve is everybody thinking it's Trick and it's Javon. Trick does not need this faction, this group at all. Trick also should be called up pretty soon if it were up to me. Honestly, I'd sign the dotted line for him to be called up post Mania at the latest by SummerSlam. You put Trick on the main roster, in my opinion. But I don't know. Maybe they are kind of running him out in NXT for a little bit. Maybe they are want him involved with this faction. I don't know. Dark State, the four guys involved again, they don't seem bad on an individual level. I think they all could maybe find some sort of success, even on tag team levels. Who knows? But I'm at that point already where I would like to see the storyline start going that way where they fall apart and separate a little bit. I don't think they need that faction. NXT is also a bit like faction heavy, maybe. You know, they have this other faction, the Culling with Sean Spears, Izzy Dame, and all them, and that's a fine faction too. But like, they're kind of getting brushed away a little bit because of Dark State. Why not just use them in this exact spot that Dark State's in? I don't know. Maybe they have other plans for all these guys involved, but I'm looking forward to the fucking triple threat. I'll tell you that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. NXT, the actual show itself, I have no worries about. On the topic of NXT, am I just drawing a blank or do Fraxium not have opponents for Stand and Deliver?
not at the moment. I would imagine they, of course, do. I mean, that is like the tag team of the last 2 years right now. Do they go the route? Because you got to think there's a triple threat. We got Saints versus Ego versus Ethan Page.
You've only
Um,
got one more NXT show before Stand and Deliver.
yeah, you only got one more. They have the Fatal Four Way Women's Match, which should be a triple threat. Um, I think you know who should not be in the match. Am I missing a match on the card, or is that it?
I would assume we get Ricky Saints
Ethan Page.
potentially
Yeah, that's what
against Ethan Page. I know the four guys are going
yeah,
for
yeah.
the chance. And then we have the women's North American title ladder
Ladder
match.
match. Correct. That's what I'm missing. Yeah, which the North American Championship has been like a staple when that thing's vacant. It's a ladder match, so I'm all fine with that. I think there's going to be a couple names in that ladder match that are a little green for a ladder match. I'm hoping that match actually turns out okay. But they're missing a tag title match. Fraxium's got to face somebody. You would think it would be fucking Dark State. Why would it
Yeah.
not be Dark State?
Yeah. I mean, it would make more sense if Dark State took out the family this week and then went for the tag titles to try to get them in
Yeah,
the group. My complaint on Stand and Deliver, Mania's got it a little bit. Stand and Deliver, it's looking like it's pretty bad of too many multi-person matches.
that's the problem. I was going to say, like, Fraxium, you can have in a triple threat fatal four way, but you already got a 6-woman ladder, a fatal four way, a triple threat. The only singles match is Starks and Ethan, or Saints and Ethan Page.
That's if they do it.
That's if they do it. Yeah, and that could be multi man. It's tough. Fraxium versus. Fuck it. Give them the Hardys again for all I care. I don't know. You know, give them something. The Fraxium's got to be at the card. They have to.
Yeah, you can't just not have Fraxium. I mean, it's literally Fraxium.
Yeah,
And
it's
they've been
Fraxium.
champions
Yeah,
for
yeah,
God knows how long at this point.
yeah.
Like, I can't imagine they wouldn't be, but again, goes to good Lord, fucking Tyler McGill. 8 straight balls to start the game. Fucking throw a strike, pal.
Not great.
Uh, but it circles back. Fraxium versus Dark State doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, and I agree. That doesn't even do it for me for Dark State. That whole faction, again, I just don't really care right now. I don't need them involved at all. Not a whole lot of other tag teams really in NXT right now. I mean, they've been kind of hinting at some tension within the family. I personally want to see them stay together as a faction. I think Luca and Stax can be a fine tag team, and Tony's kind of running that faction a little bit. But it seems like they might be going a different route as well. I don't know. Maybe we get maybe a team comes down. Maybe Theory and Waller go after the tag titles again or something. Who knows? You know, I don't know. There's a couple teams they can throw in the mix there, but you got to put Fraxium on the card. I'm confident they'll be on the card.
You know, it might be Hank and Tank now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, it's true. It might be
Yeah.
Hank and Tank, which like
Again, does nothing for me.
yeah, it doesn't really do it for me. Not they you know, Hank and Tank, they got some charisma. Don't get me wrong, but like that's an NXT jobber team, kind of. I don't know. You know, it's just they haven't been built up enough. It would all just be for Fraxium to get the win again, which is fine. I don't necessarily even want Fraxium to lose the belts, but there's nothing really on the line there against Hank and Tank.
Yeah, I mean, as we were talking about, it didn't even click. I'm like, oh, they've been doing this story for weeks with Hank and Tank of, essentially getting their mojo and all these teams from the main roster coming down to
Yeah,
pretty much give them advice or help them. I wouldn't be shocked if Hank and Tank won, honestly, and Fraxium got called up after Mania. Like, that wouldn't be
yeah,
shocking either. Now that there's been some establishment in both tag team divisions, but now you're kind of running into like SmackDown. Pretty much all of those teams have faced, so you kind of need a fresh face or two in there, which, I know Carmelo and Miz are in there, but that's besides the point. We're going to do predictions next week. So I'm going to ask you for a different style of prediction. This isn't a match prediction. This isn't an outcome prediction. This is a personal prediction.
Uh,
Snowden's best match of the week. This doesn't have to be the universally thought best match of the week. What match do you think will do it for you where you're like, I think this is going to be my favorite and I expect it to be my favorite the entire weekend?
does Natalia have a
She
match?
might. She's got a chance this
She might.
Friday.
She might. Yeah, she might. Ah, man.
So
The
she's your
one that
answer if her and Maxine
if
win
she
both
has a
of them.
match, of course,
Yeah.
yes. If Natalia has a tag title match, that's gonna be match of the weekend. I mean, of course, come on. The match that really sticks out, like when you say that, there's two matches that come to mind, but the one that really sticks out is the IC Fatal Four Way: Braun Breaker, Penta, Finn, Dom. I think there's a lot of story there. I think it's going to be a great match, and I think there's a lot of stories that can follow up from it. I think all around that really has the most potential to be kind of the show stealer this weekend.
Yeah, there's a few good options. Like AJ Logan might go
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
AJ
People are
Logan
going to
might
hate
go
on it.
crazy.
People are going to hate on it because it's Logan, but you also got to think back to 33, where AJ Styles put on a fucking clinic with Shane McMahon when nobody thought that was going to be anything. Logan Paul, say what you will, every match he's had, he's been good in these matches. They really might go hard. That could be a show stealer.
That is up there. Also, what can't be overlooked, which I'm going to assume this ends up being the match itself. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. That can go crazy.
Yeah, it really could. LA Knight has put on the best matches of his career in his last year, this whole US title run. LA's always been great, but when they put that strap on him, he was doing different work in that ring, in all honesty. His match with Logan Paul is one of his best matches in recent memory against Jacob Fatu now. That really could be a good one as well. I'm worrisome that is maybe one of the matches that won't get the time that other matches will.
And lastly, your prediction. This, I'll have you predict the match winner. And it is this weekend. We're assuming there's been no mention of it, but last year they kind of mentioned it at the last minute.
Yeah,
I'm sure on Friday
they'll
they're gonna
call it
mention,
announced.
hey, this is happening next week. Who wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Not who do you want to win, who wins?
Phoenix, you know,
So I was thinking Phoenix, but I kind of feel we might get Phoenix versus Santos Escobar on the SmackDown before Mania.
I agree. That'd be the only thing kind of saying no to Phoenix, which who else would win it? If it was up to me, I would love Carmelo to win it potentially. Last year, Big Bronson Reed won it, and they had a little bit of a push with Bronson too up until the injury. So it's not that they're using the Andre Battle Royal as some crazy catapult into stardom, but I think they're going to give it to somebody that they want to push a little bit more. Shit, I mean, honestly, Jimmy Uso could win it. I'm not even gonna lie. Not that they're gonna crazy push him, but I think that's actually reasonable considering Jay has also won the Andre Battle Royal. I really feel like there's a name on the tip of my tongue that I just can't get out right now. But I guess I have to go with Phoenix. Once this podcast ends, I'm gonna go, oh, that's who I was thinking of. But there's somebody on the tip of my tongue right now.
I'm gonna say, when I start thinking of like possibilities, if Sheamus is in it, I could see Sheamus winning.
Yeah,
If Ludwig's in it, I could see Ludwig winning.
yeah, yeah,
If Jimmy's in it, I could see Jimmy winning. If Strowman's in it, I could see Strowman winning. Um, if I had to pick, I don't know if Jimmy will be back. 'Cause Jimmy's a good pick. I don't know if they'll
yeah.
have him back. I could see him showing up at Mania,
I agree.
after Jay wins or something like that.
Yeah,
Mm,
give it to Solo.
could be Solo, could be Nakamura. Like,
That does nothing for me, to be honest.
yeah, of
Nakamura,
course.
yeah,
I'll go Ludwig just because I hope he wins. I want, that's as you mentioned, Bronson Reed, like we wanted him to win. He got that push. We want Ludwig to get that push. So I'll pick Ludwig.
Ludwig. I'm going to stick with Phoenix. I can see a world where Phoenix and Santos are both in it, and it comes down to them, and Phoenix eliminates Santos or something, and that sets up another match between the two. Phoenix, I think, leads the pack there. I don't know. If they haven't even announced the Andre Battle Royal, we might be speaking out of our asses right now. Again, they did do this last year, though, where they, on a whim, were like, yeah, we're going to have this Battle Royal next week, and they did it. So I imagine it's a little bit more of the same this year. There's no like prominent big guy right now because Big Bronson Reed is out. There's no prominent big guy to kind of get that win. I do kind of like Sheamus, though. I think Sheamus is up there.
Yeah, if he's in it, I like his odds. That'd be kind of fun. And it could also start him for his push towards going for the Intercontinental Championship again. Next week, though, WrestleMania week. We will have our WrestleMania predictions. The five of us all together, as I burp as I say that, the five of us together predicting probably about 10 or 12 matches. Friday night, we'll have SmackDown post show, SmackDown talk. Saturday, NXT Stand and Deliver. WrestleMania night one, Saturday, we'll be live right here. Sunday, we come right back live on Easter Sunday for our live reactions. And then Monday, we change venues. We'll put out some reactions. I'm sure we'll get something that's a surprise on Monday Night Raw, maybe a Rusev return, something along those lines. That'll go up and we'll have a post show. I can't wait. Snowden, can you wait?
Um, no, I can't wait either. I can't wait. I do got to say though, I need a favor from you.
Ooh,
This
I'm Paul
goes.
Heyman now?
You're Paul Heyman now. I need a Paul Heyman favor from you from CTD, and this goes for all weekend: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I need you to hit that record button.
You're not fucking lying. I need me to hit that record button too. You're not lying, pal.
Yeah, not lying. We got through 9 minutes today, but I want every minute of WrestleMania weekend to be accounted for. C2 Wrestling, FAP Reactions, Alec the Honorary Oos, all the fans that join in on the live broadcast. I want it all to be accounted for. It's going to be a hell of a time. We're getting there. C2 Wrestling, baby.
Surprised it fucking took me this long to fuck that up.